What if I told you that one wedding invitation would destroy a family that had been together for over 50 years? What if I told you that by the end of this story, 3 people would be dead, millions of dollars would be lost, and a family name would be erased forever? This is the true story of the Morrison family. And it all started with love. Asterisk, asterisk, the Morrison family seemed to have it all. William Morrison, 68, had built a construction empire from nothing. Starting with just a pickup truck and a toolbox in 1978, he had created Morrison Construction, one of the largest building companies on the East Coast. His wife, Margaret, 65, came from old money. Her family had owned textile mills for generations. Together, they represented the perfect blend of new money ambition and old money prestige. They had 3 children, Rebecca, 35, the eldest and daddy's little princess. She had married young to another wealthy family and lived the perfect suburban life with her husband Brad and their twin daughters. Then there was Michael, 32, the golden boy. Quarterback in high school, business degree from Harvard, being groomed to take over the family business. He was everything his father wanted in a son. And finally, Sarah, 28, the artistic one. She had always been different, studying photography, traveling the world, never quite fitting into the family's conservative mold. For years, the Morrisons were the family everyone envied. It was Thanksgiving 2019 when Sarah dropped the bomb that would change everything forever. The family was gathered around their massive dining table, the same one Margaret's great-grandmother had brought from England. William was carving the turkey, making jokes about Michael's latest girlfriend, a senator's daughter he'd been dating for 2 years. Speaking of relationships, Sarah said, her voice trembling slightly, "I have an announcement to make." The room fell silent. All eyes turned to the youngest Morrison child. "I'm engaged," she said, pulling out a simple silver ring. "His name is Marcus, and I love him more than anything in this world." Rebecca squealed with delight. "Oh my God, Sarah. When do we get to meet him? Is he coming for Christmas?" But William and Margaret weren't smiling. Something about their daughter's nervous energy told them this wasn't going to be the simple announcement they hoped for. "Tell us about him, honey," Margaret said carefully. "What does he do? What's his family like?" Sarah took a deep breath. "He's a teacher. He teaches underprivileged kids in the inner city. He's incredibly smart, incredibly kind, and he makes me laugh every single day. That's nice, dear," William said slowly. "What's his last name? Maybe we know his family." Sarah's hands were shaking now. "His name is Marcus Washington, and before you ask, yes, he's black. Yes, he grew up poor. Yes, his father wasn't around. And no, none of that matters to me." The silence that followed was deafening. Rebecca was the first to break. Over the next few months, the Morrison family fractured in ways no one could have predicted. Rebecca tried to play peacemaker, secretly meeting with Sarah to help plan the wedding. She offered to pay for the venue, the flowers, everything there. Parents should have been providing. "You don't have to do this," Sarah told her sister over coffee at a small cafe downtown, far from anywhere the Morrison family might be seen. "Yes, I do," Rebecca insisted. "You're my baby sister. And honestly, after meeting Marcus, I think you're making the right choice. He's incredible." Rebecca had driven to Sarah's small apartment the week before, expecting to dislike her sister's fiancé. Instead, she found herself charmed by Marcus Washington, a 30-year-old man with an easy smile and genuine warmth. He taught 5th grade at a school in one of the city's poorest neighborhoods. He volunteered at a community center on weekends. He looked at Sarah like she hung the moon. "Mom asks about you every day," Rebecca told Sarah. "She cries, you know. She wants to call you, but Dad has forbidden it." "He's forbidden it?" "He's made it clear anyone who supports your marriage is dead to him." Mom's terrified. You know how she is. Margaret Morrison had never worked a day in her life. She had gone from her father's house to her husband's house and had never learned to stand on her own. The idea of defying William was incomprehensible to her. Meanwhile, Michael was facing his own crisis. His father had started making subtle threats about his position in the company. "Family loyalty means everything," William would say during their daily meetings. "I need to know that." What Sarah didn't know was that her father had hired a private investigator to dig into Marcus Washington's life. William Morrison was a man who solved problems with money and power. If he couldn't stop this wedding through emotional manipulation, he would find another way. The investigator, a former police detective named Frank Collins, spent weeks following Marcus, interviewing his neighbors, Digging through his past, what he found wasn't what William expected. Your daughter's fiancé's clean, Collins reported during a meeting in William's office. No criminal record, no debts. No secret families. The guy's basically a saint. Everyone has something, William insisted. Keep looking. Mr. Morrison, I've been doing this for 20 years. This guy pays his taxes, volunteers at a soup kitchen, and sends money to his sick mother every month. If you want dirt, you're going to have to plant it yourself. That's when William Morrison crossed the line that would destroy everything. How much would that cost? He asked quietly. Collins stared at him. Excuse me? You heard me? How much to plant something? A drug charge, maybe? Something that would make my daughter see what kind of man she's really marrying? Mr. Morrison, I can't. Everyone has a price, Collins. What's yours? The detective stood up to leave. I'm not that kind of person, and I don't work for people. Who are? But William Morrison didn't give up. He found someone who would take his money. 3 weeks before the wedding, Marcus Washington was arrested on charges of drug possession with intent to distribute. A routine traffic stop had allegedly found cocaine in his car. Sarah was devastated. Marcus swore he was innocent, that It took 6 months for the truth to emerge, and when it did, it came from an unexpected source. Frank Collins, the private investigator William had first hired, had been haunted by their conversation. He had spent his career catching bad guys, not creating them. When he heard about Marcus's arrest, he knew exactly what had happened. He started his own investigation. It took him 3 months to track down the corrupt cop William had paid, another month to get him to talk. The cop, facing his own legal troubles, eventually confessed to planting the drugs during the traffic stop. Collins brought the evidence to Sarah personally. Your father paid Detective Ray Martinez $5,000 to plant cocaine in your fiancé's car, he told her, handing over recorded conversations and bank records. I'm sorry. I should have stopped this when he first asked me. Sarah stared at the evidence, her hands shaking. My own father. The charges against Marcus were dropped immediately. His teaching job was restored, but the damage to their relationship was severe. Marcus had spent months wondering if Sarah believed in his innocence. Sarah had spent months questioning everything. She thought she knew about love and loyalty, but worse was coming. When Sarah confronted her father with the evidence, William Morrison didn't deny it. I did what I had to do to protect this family, he said coldly. You destroyed an innocent man's life. I stopped you from making the biggest mistake of your life. The biggest mistake of my life is being your daughter. That's when William Morrison made the threat that would seal his fate. If you marry that man, Sarah, I will make sure he never works again. Sarah and Marcus decided to elope. They couldn't risk another public ceremony that William could sabotage. On a quiet Tuesday morning in March 2021, they were married by a justice of the peace with only Rebecca and her family as witnesses. Rebecca cried through the entire ceremony. I'm so sorry Mom and Dad aren't here, she whispered to Sarah afterward. I'm not, Sarah replied. I don't want people at my wedding who don't want me to be happy. But as they left the courthouse, Sarah's phone rang. It was her mother. Sarah, honey, please come home. Margaret sobbed into the phone. Your father... Something's wrong. He's been acting strange, paranoid. He thinks everyone is out to get him. He's fired half his employees. He won't eat. He barely sleeps. That's not my problem anymore, Mom. Please, he's destroying everything. The business is failing. We might lose the house. Rebecca won't speak to him after what he did to Marcus. Michael is planning to quit and start his own company. The family is falling apart. Sarah felt a stab of pain. Despite everything, part of her still loved the man who had taught her to ride a bike and read her bedtime stories. It doesn't have to be this way, she told her mother. All he has to do is apologize, accept Marcus, accept me. He can't, honey. His pride won't let him. He'd rather lose everything than admit he was wrong. And that's exactly what happened. The Morrison family empire crumbled faster than anyone thought possible. William's paranoia and erratic behavior drove away longtime clients. Michael finally quit and took several key employees with him, starting a rival company that immediately began winning Morrison Construction's contracts. Margaret, who had never stood up to her husband in 40 years of marriage, finally reached her breaking point when William accused her of secretly meeting with Sarah. I never see her, she screamed at him. Because of you, I've lost my daughter. Because of your pride and your hatred, I will never see my grandchildren. What grandchildren? Sarah's pregnant, William. We're going to be grandparents and we'll never meet our grandchild because you can't accept that love comes in different colors. That night, Margaret packed her bags and went to stay with Rebecca. William Morrison found himself completely alone in his massive house. Having driven away everyone who had ever loved him, the final blow came when the story of what he'd done to Marcus leaked to the press. Someone had given Collins his evidence to investigative journalists, and the story of the wealthy businessman who had framed his daughter's fiancé became front-page news. Morrison Construction's remaining clients fled. The family's reputation was destroyed. William was facing criminal charges for conspiracy and perjury. On a cold December morning, the maid found William Morrison dead in his study, an empty bottle of sleeping pills on his desk, and a single photo of his family. Today, Sarah Washington lives in a modest house across town with her husband, Marcus, and their 2 children, William Jr., age 4, and Margaret, age 2. Yes, she named them after her parents, because despite everything, she believes in forgiveness. Marcus returned to teaching and eventually opened that community center he'd always dreamed of. It's called the Morrison Center, named after the grandfather his children will never meet. Rebecca and Sarah have rebuilt their relationship. Rebecca divorced her husband. It turned out he'd supported their father's actions and now runs a nonprofit organization with Sarah, helping victims of family discrimination. Margaret lives nearby and sees her grandchildren every day. She's learned to drive at age 70 and has become one of the strongest women you'll ever meet. The shy, dependent wife is gone, replaced by someone who speaks her mind and stands up for what's right. Michael's construction company is thriving. He's hired several of Marcus's former students and has become an advocate for diversity in the workplace. He and Sarah speak every week now. The Morrison mansion was sold to pay William's debts. The family fortune is gone, but for the first time in years, the surviving members of the Morrison family are happy. You know what's funny? Sarah told me when I interviewed her, the Morrison family story is a tragedy that didn't have to happen. It's a reminder that love should unite families, not divide them. That acceptance and understanding are stronger than fear and prejudice, and that sometimes the very thing we think we're protecting is destroyed by our attempts to save it. William Morrison thought he was preserving his family's legacy. Instead, he became a cautionary tale about the price of hatred. The question is, what legacy will you leave behind?